Tonight. I wanted to make a quick note that IT has been working on the sound for the meetings and troubleshoot it all, or shot, or whatever, what's the right word, I don't know, last week, and have been making some adjustments. So we're aware of it, but we do want to know if there are problems coming through. But hopefully you'll be able to hear tonight. So our first item up tonight is our Museum of Outdoor Arts annual update with Ms. Cynthia Madden Leitner, the President Executive Director. Please come on up. And Tim Vacca, the Director of Programs, who are here to present an annual update of MOA. Thank you for being with us. And these microphones are a little bizarre. If you're not really close to them, it's hard to hear. And we do have a lot of people that listen from home, so thanks for putting them close.
We move them closer?
Yeah.
I've never seen microphones like this.
Cool. Thank you.
Good
Welcome.
evening. I'm Cynthia Madden Leitner. I'm the founding director of the Museum of Outdoor Arts, and Tim Vacca is with me tonight. He's the director of programming. We appreciate being given the time to put together a presentation. It's a very comprehensive presentation this evening for the reason primarily there are some new council members. So we wanted to kind of give you a little tiny bit of an education and background in MOA. There's some bullet points up on the screen, and MOA is a museum that was founded in 1981. Museum without walls, meaning that we've never...
Sorry to interrupt you for a second,
Sure.
but this was not in our packet, folks, and so people at home, you're not going to see this, but we will make sure it gets up. They've just brought it in tonight.
This is just bullet points of
yes,
MOAs.
But we usually post,
history.
so we'll make sure it's posted. Thanks. Sorry to interrupt you. Keep going.
That's all right. The Museum of Outdoor Arts was founded with the mission of having the monies go into primarily the outdoor community initially and not to be invested into a facility. So you'll see later on the how we handle our income each year and what kind of program we do specifically in Inglewood. We won't talk about probably the programming we do outside of Inglewood. In 2000, 1999, close to 2000, we moved our headquarters, which our headquarters was in Greenwood Village. We had moved around quite a bit into different spaces that were being contributed to us. But in 2000, we did a 20-year lease with the city of Inglewood. We had 5-year extensions. We've exercised all of those. Our lease is actually up in 2020, and at the end of this presentation, we'll talk a little bit about that. Every year, Inglewood provides MOA with $96,000 per the lease. $50,000 of that is to be used for programming. During the term of our lease, we've spent close to $1 million on tenant improvements. Let's see. Initially, per the lease, we were to put in 13 sculptures. I think Tim and I talked about this as
39, I think.
We have 39 sculptures currently in Inglewood, in the city of Inglewood, that are publicly accessible. We have 5 full-time employees, but we work with a lot of contractors in the area as well. And let's see, our board of trustees, we have 6 members. We meet 4 times a year. And one of the nice things we bring to Inglewood are internationally, nationally known artists, some of which definitely live in Colorado. This year, this is a new slide for us. We're showing you a revenue overview. You can read it. You can look at the graph if you'd like. I'm not sure. Is this part of their packet? Do they have that available?
Will.
Okay. You will have that as part of your packet. But I can just run through it for you if you'd like me to. We receive about $1.4 million a year, $96,000 of which Inglewood contributes to the Museum of Outdoor Arts. The other contributions, SCFD, we receive between we actually receive, we're first, second, or third greatest amount in Arapahoe County.
Tier 3. Yeah.
Tier 3. We have some corporate sponsorships and some individual donations, but most of our income comes from Fiddler's Green Amphitheater, which we own, and that's where most of our revenue comes from every year. We also have a carryover every year that goes to the next year to provide money for our operations. This gives you a larger graph of how much money we put into programs every year. So of the $1.4 million, we put $1.2 million back into the community into programming. And our administration is less than a third of that budget, which for most nonprofits, they operate usually with 40% in operations. And we feel very good that we operate under that accepted number. So this year, is what we're reporting on is from our last presentation, which was in October last year, to the current date. So from that time, we had 13,000 people that we could record indoors in our indoor gallery this year. That we don't have any way of recording the number of people that go through the outdoors except for our touring program. So the passerby, the people that come specifically with our self-guided tours that they print up online, or they bring their own tour groups to Inglewood to look at the art and to go through what the public offerings, outdoor public offerings are here. We have no way of showing how many people. I can tell you that in Greenwood Village, you know, any given day there's 40,000 people. And in the summertime, just from Fiddler's Green alone, there's approximately 200,000. So I would say it's very conservatively that the Museum of Outdoor Arts, the public art offerings and the indoor offerings, there's about 400,000 people a year that come in touch with our programs in one way or another, or our public art. The money that was spent specifically in Inglewood this year was $650,000. And so I'd like you to remember that one point in the lease was MOA was supposed to, in the year 2000, spend $50,000 a year. And that's all that was required of us. So we take our presence in the Inglewood community very seriously, and we're very grateful to be here and to be, you know, the fine arts cultural center of Inglewood. Let's see. There's a repeat of our tenant finish expenses, and our total investment over the 20-year lease has been over $8 million.
All right. I'm going to dip into attendance before I get to programming. We do break down attendance by county. That's something that SCFD requires of us, so we do that. And as you can see, the largest sector that we serve is Arapahoe County at 37%. And then I'll go to the next slide. We also break it down by demographic. So Inglewood residents, there are about 3,900 residents that identify themselves as residents as they checked into the gallery this year, so about 29% of our overall attendance. We also serve a lot of special needs groups, school groups, elderly groups, and you know, they're frequent visitors all the time. So, and again, more for the benefit of the newer council members, but we have, I guess it's 37 outdoor sculptures around City Center here, including 9 pieces that are inside the Civic Center. So hopefully you're all familiar with the collection that's outside and very visible. We offer, so now I'll get into the programs. We offer a tour program. We have a variety of different tours available to our patrons. They're self-guided tours. They can either pick up a printout, which is included in your packet, a map at the gallery, or they can go on our website and download that ahead of time. We also offer gallery tours when we have exhibitions going on, or guided outdoor tours. And this year we had 22 tours in Inglewood, about 461 people There's also an audio tour that you can dial in on your cell phone, so it gives you more information about each sculpture as you go through. Conservation this year, we take conservation very seriously because we believe in maintaining our sculpture. It's the right thing to do as a museum, and so we do take it very seriously. This year we spent $122,000 in conservation just in the Inglewood pieces, the big one being the Brooklyn Bridge piece out here by the light rail. I believe that was about $40,000 to conserve. That's about every 15 years we have to do a big conservation on that. So we had to work with a specialized group out of the East Coast who specialize in Red Grooms, who's the artist, Red Groom Sculpture. They had to come in and repaint a good portion of it, bring it back to life. But we also advertised it as something to come see. You know, it took about a week, so it was kind of fun. We had a few people who came by and observed that. But in addition, we always do our bronze and stone maintenance, so that usually includes washing, waxing, sealing, that kind of thing. As far as exhibitions, just before, let's see, this show opened just after, we presented last year. This is a father-son show, Chuck and Colin Parson. They're local artists. We had a great turnout. It was a fantastic exhibition. That was up through December 15th. Then in the Atrium, we worked with another local artist, Craig Marshall Smith. This is a selection from his 50 States series, so you've probably seen those in the Atrium at some point.
And he worked with, 12 artists around the country?
Yeah, and then as an extension of the Atrium exhibition, we did an indoor collaborative exhibition where he worked with, I think, a dozen different artists. They collaborated on the same canvas, which was really interesting. He also acted as our artist in residence, so we had all those artists coming into the studio working with him. And we always offer the public access to the studio in case anyone wants to go observe what's going on. Then we did a permanent collection exhibition. You may have noticed a change. We did remove the carpet from the main gallery floor and polished up the concrete underneath in an effort to sort of bring it up, to date and give it a little more jazz, I guess. I think it's really nice. If you haven't been in to see it, I recommend checking it out. That was this just featured our indoor collection, which a lot of people don't realize we have, but we do have an indoor collection as well. And then this show just closed on Saturday. I included the catalog in your packet there. This is a Chicago-based artist. He taught sculpture at Indiana University Northwest for many years. He recently retired. So we did a retrospective with Neal Goodman. Fabulous bronze work, and it all gets shipped out later this week back to Chicago. As part of that, we did a lecture in Hampton Hall, where he came back out to Colorado and provided more information on his process. And we had about 60 people showed up to that on a Wednesday night, which was good. So this is what we're working on now. The gallery's closed. This is a little different for us. This is an immersive arts experience. It opens in January. It's very exciting. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Meow Wolf craze, but we're basically taking over our entire indoor gallery space. And we worked with about 30 different artists, most of them local, to produce this sort of surrealist, dreamlike walk through the woods. So everything will be interactive. You can touch things, and there's a scent layer, there's sound. It's for all ages. And there's little, we call them Easter eggs, that can be found throughout the experience. So as you walk through, you might see something that's like, push here, you push there, and it might trigger a reaction with a light show or something like that. So that'll be really, really exciting. We just sent out a press release last week, and we're getting a lot of feedback on that, so hopefully we'll get a lot of good press. This will be a ticketed event. This is a little different for us. However, we are committed to making it accessible to Inglewood residents. We will have some sneak peek days in which we'll invite all of the city employees to come through if they'd like. We're also offering SCFD free days, so the first Tuesday of every month. Anyone can come for free. And then Mondays will be reserved for groups, and we're working with Inglewood schools to try to get as many students in there as possible, and that will be no charge to the schools. And this is a permanent installation within the gallery, the Cabinet of Curiosities. This is a favorite of our guests. It's based partly on nursery rhymes, partly on fairy tales. There's a million things to see. I feel like every time I go in there, I see something new every time. And then this year we had the opportunity to collaborate with the library, which is great. So we set up a sort of ancillary Cabinet of Curiosities exhibition downstairs. It's on display currently, so you can go see that. And that was in an effort to sort of cross-promote with the library and MOA and get people to come up to MOA, and I think it's been very successful. Design and Build is our premier education program. So we have a summer internship. This year we had 10 summer interns. They're all paid. It's a very competitive internship. We get about, I would say, maybe 70 applications. There were 10 spots. And we had students from all over the nation. Most of them were local, but we did get applications from all over the nation and invited a couple out-of-state students to come work in the studio. So they worked with our artists in residence on the production of Natura Obscura, which is coming up soon. So it was really fun. They get to kind of get their hands dirty and all different things that, you know, maybe they aren't all painters, but they all get experience in painting, or they aren't our sculptors, but they all get experience in sculpting, that kind of thing. It's highly collaborative. Pushing the button. There we go. Also this year, the spring, we did a Alumni Reunion, which we've not done at this space. So we got just over 50 alumni to come into Inglewood here and kind of come home, which was great because they're all over the country now, and it's really interesting to see where they go. A lot of them do become full-time artists, which is great. And I mentioned our Artist in Residence program. We offer 2 residencies a year. Our spring residency was Prismagic. This is our collaborating partner on the Natura Obscura experience. And so Jen Mosquera and Eric Janicki are the principals of Prismagic, and they actually work directly with the students all summer to create the elements for Natura Obscura. And she was also in the studio all spring working as well. And currently we're featuring our Design and Build alumni. There's 3 of them that are in the studio collaborating on an installation that'll be part of Natura Obscura. This year we also debuted the Cricut Cinema at the Inglewood Block Party, which was fantastic. This is a mobile pop-up cinema that we can take out into the community. It features short animations and films by local artists that rotate, so people can hop on and enjoy it as long as they want and then get off when they're done. And it's built on a tiny home trailer platform. It was fabricated locally by some art fabricators. And so we hope to do more with that. It didn't come out till September, so next year we'll be programming it more. This is just a selection of all the different events that we've done. In Inglewood this year, we always use Facebook. That's a great way to capture audience on that. We also do a film and podcasting program. We create a lot of films for exhibitions that sort of go along with the artists. We also do the podcasts, and for example, you can hear podcasts from all the participating artists in our summer Design and Build program, and they talk about their experience with the program. We also did some education outreach, specifically in Inglewood. We did 7 outreach artist workshops at Clayton, 4 at Charles Hay. About 275 students participated. They learned how to create their own sketchbooks and how to sew with artist Jennifer Gormley. She's a local artist. And then next year we are planning to work with Inglewood High School on supporting a mural project they want to do at their school. I'm going to have to turn my slide here because I cannot read that. I'm getting older. We do offer a lot of outreach and support in the Inglewood community. So For example, we financially sponsored the Charles Hay I Heart Art Show. We sponsored the Inglewood Halloween Festival, the Sounds of Summer music series, specifically the Face concert, which was hugely successful. We also sponsored the beer garden there and sold beer at that event, which was great. Good turnout for that. We, of course, every year we host and install the calendar show here in the Atrium. We host the reception and we install the show. The city, of course, puts on the, gets them all framed and all that. And then the block party, we participated in that, the Cabinet of Curiosities at the library. And then, of course, we try to go to as many Arts Commission meetings as we can. This is just a selection of some of the press we got this year. There was some press about conservation on Brooklyn Bridge, as well as some of the exhibitions. And our Spring Artist in Residence was named as one of the 100 Colorado Creatives in Westward, which is great. These are just some community reviews that we receive online. A lot of people describe us as a hidden gem. Once a lot of people may not know we have this indoor facility. They're aware of the outdoor sculpture, so we're always working on that, trying to get people to come upstairs. But we find that once people come upstairs and they find it, they get very excited and they're so happy that they found it. So you can read these through if you want when you get the link. And then I just wanted to raise a little awareness around the Colorado Business Committee for the Arts. They put out, every other year they do an economic activity study for the arts. MOA data is included because we're part of the SCFD. So they take all of the data from SCFD and they compile that. So basically everything was up. I did include in your packet, there's a little brochure that gives you all the details. But the economic impact with the arts in the Denver metro area was $573 million. That was a 12% increase from the last study in 2015. Provides 11,820 jobs, 10% increase. And 15 million people attended an art or culture event. That was an 8.5% increase. And then education outreach, 4.3 million children, 8.5% increase. But I encourage you to kind of go through that. It's really good data. And it actually puts Colorado on the map for art and culture, which is great. So this is just a breakdown. We've already kind of discussed all these numbers, but it's a breakdown of all of the financials that we've presented on tonight. And I'll give it back to Cynthia.
Well, every year, as most of you know, MOA does report, which we just have, on our activities for the year. But this year we have an additional thing for City Council to consider, and that's the extension of our lease. Since our lease will be up after 20 years this coming May. So we'd like to get an extension of the current lease to go. We were in discussions with the city manager before he left, and I think the city attorney is aware of that we're in discussions also. But we'd like to get an extension to 2023 with the current lease terms that we have. So it's something that if you have questions or you want to know more information about the lease or you just want to have a discussion, but we'd appreciate really knowing what your decision is by the end of the year. Our board, we need to report to our board what our status is going forward, and we're very close. We're very close to the lease ending in 2020, so I think it's fair that perhaps the city could give us the response by the end of the year.
Thank you. I'm going to open it up for council to ask questions or comments, and we have set another date to actually talk about the lease. So tonight was meant to be informational, and then is it just on the lease? Yes. Okay. We don't. I thought we did. We set it up.
Well, I didn't know whether it was the lease or not, but I thought we have another study session in January.
That was just cultural arts in general, talking about what we're doing in the city, but not specific to MOA and the lease. I mean, that's certainly up for you.
Well, point of information, it's got to go with the building.
Yeah,
It's
excuse
got to
me.
go with the discussion about the building, and I thought that was happening.
So yes, and so I would suggest that tonight is informational. Ask all the questions we can, and let's vet all the questions that we have, so that when we come back to make a decision about what's the lease process going to be, that would be best. And we may have misdirected you, interim city manager. So we will figure that out tomorrow when we're all together. So questions, Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you so much for this report. I look forward to it every year. It's really cool to see in a real nice snapshot everything that you guys do for our community, because each of us touches on little parts of it, but we don't get to see the full picture like we do tonight. So thank you for that. Also have a couple questions. How long is the Natura Obscura exhibit going to be? It's semi-permanent, right? At least
Well,
2
it's
years or so?
no, it's through April.
Oh, it's only through April.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's opening in January?
Yes.
Okay, I can't wait to see that. That's
Yeah.
going to be really cool. And just want to also thank you for all the extra support that you give to the Cultural Arts Commission. You really support and assist in a really impactful way. And also thank you for hosting the student art calendar and reception. You know, this year it was standing room only. It was really packed. Families really look forward to it. So thank you for everything that you give to our community. People, a lot of citizens don't know that I keep hearing over and over hidden gem. That's what I hear from people once they discover MOA. So I think it is really interesting, our relationship, because people think it's the city of Inglewood. So it's nice when people do discover that you have an indoor exhibit and get to experience that. And all the feedback I hear from folks is overwhelmingly like, wow, I can't believe this is here. What a great asset to our community. So just want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Amy.
Other comments or questions? Mayor Pro Tem Russell.
I just have a couple of questions. On the tenant finish expenses that you've spent over the years that you've been here,
Over 20 years.
what are the types of things those are for? Are some of those for every time you change somebody? Is that included?
The original cost of the tenant finish back in 2000, it was, how do I say, the space was bare. There were no demising walls. There was no ceiling tile. It was concrete floors. And that original cost, I don't know what it'd be in today's dollars, and this really isn't figured in today's dollars, was $600,000. So over the years, we've upgraded finishes, we've redone studios, there have been about $300,000 to $400,000 more over the last 20 years that we've put into the space to upgrade it. We've shifted the lighting out 3 times, because arts lighting is a very important part of installation. So we've done that. Nothing is really per exhibition.
Okay. And then one other question. Is there any way to track the economic impact of MOA to Inglewood rather than just the fact that the arts in Denver are increasing in economic impact?
We'd have to have a company like Deloitte Touche that does that accounting for the city of Denver. The city would have to hire, or a group would have to hire, someone of that kind of renown to figure that out. So we really don't have a way, especially since almost everything we do is for free, we don't really have a way of tracking it.
Point of information regarding the Mayor Pro Tem's question. MOA, I'm sure, has some level of engagement metrics that you've collected over the years, no, Tim? At least on some level you could use to begin to understand some numbers.
Yeah,
with regard to
we've done
MOA
surveys and things over the years. A lot of that is more qualitative, though, as far as like program feedback and stuff. It's really difficult for us to quantify a lot of the metrics because we don't usually have a ticketed admission where we have like a membership and things like that. And also with the outdoor collection, it's very hard to gauge how many interactions actually happen. So.
Mayor Pro Tem, when you finished?
Well, when
Okay,
he just
keep
was sharing, I was, except for now,
Go
it
ahead.
brought up another question. The nature obscura that you were talking about, it's going to be a cost to that?
Yes.
How much will the tickets be for that?
It'll range between $10 and $20. Weekday pricing will be $10. Weekend pricing will be $15 or $20 at the door. We're trying to encourage online ticket sales in advance. It will be a time-slotted ticket because we need to sort of control the crowds. But we really hope to bring a lot of people here that have never been in the building or to MOA. So we're very excited about that, yeah.
Well, one of the reasons also that it's a ticketed event is for security reasons. We feel this event is going to be well attended, and so if it's a ticketed event, then we know about how many people are going to be here every day, and so our operations has had to increase exponentially. We don't really feel that we're going to make money off of this. We just really are trying to break even. So there's to be a lot more security, a lot more people that are ticket taking and taking care of the space and making it safe, and operationally that's not something we usually have to do.
Okay, but it's not, normally you don't charge?
No.
Is this the first time that you've done that?
Here it is, yes.
Here.
Occasionally we've had some special events that are a ticket price, but it's probably been a handful over the 20 years.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Berentine.
Thank you very much for coming and doing the presentation. Do you ever lease out your space for events or to the artists where you charge them to go ahead and do that?
No.
I'm sorry.
No, we don't lease the space.
Okay. And then there was a question about whether, I don't know whether we got an answer on that, whether you control any of the atrium space at all?
No, but we utilize the atrium for art shows. Like right now, Natura Obscura, there's a mural going up on the wall.
Right. But so somebody who would want to use the atrium wouldn't be infringing on any kind of agreement with them. And then one of my pet peeves, because I've done a lot of volunteer work and I've participated in a lot of boards for nonprofits, and so I was dumbfounded when I realized that the city of Inglewood charges nonprofits tax, one of the few municipalities in the state that does. And so I was interested in still combating that ordinance to try to turn that around. So I would like to get some figures on how much you guys are paying in sales tax and what it costs you to get a license or anything, because I would like to try to change that ordinance so that we're not charging nonprofits tax.
Well, you certainly could talk to our operations director.
I'd like to get those numbers because I certainly would like to change that so that we're not putting that additional burden on you. So it would be interesting to find out how much money that is.
Well, the city of Greenwood Village also gets sales tax from any tickets that are sold.
Well, not just tickets, but the use tax and the other. I mean, just generally, we don't honor nonprofit status for taxing. So
we only pay taxes if, say, for example, if we sell, oftentimes we will offer items that are for sale within an exhibition. We don't sell a whole lot. It's not a big revenue stream for us at all. But in that case, we do pay tax to the city. In addition, we pay permitting fees anytime we have to apply for a permit. So
I'd like to get that information because, I mean, not only do we charge you, we would charge a church, we charge our own school district. So it certainly is equitable across the board for all of our nonprofits, but it is something I would like to see reversed. So if we could get that information, that would be interesting. Thank you.
Yep.
That's all I had.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Councilmember Cuesta.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. I certainly appreciate it. One point of clarification, and I might have just misunderstood. Did you say Museum of Outdoor Arts owns Fiddler's Green?
Yes.
The amphitheater as well?
Yes.
Very good. And secondly, on the Nature Obscura exhibit or exhibition that you guys are going to have, you mentioned extended hours and security. What will the hours be for that show?
So we'll be open Tuesdays through Sundays, And Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I think, will be open 10 to 6. Thursdays, 10 to 9. Fridays and Saturdays, 10 to 10. And I believe Sundays will be 10 to 5.
And I assume that's much later than this building would typically be open during those times. And MOA is covering those additional costs of
Yes.
security? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, and just to clarify on Fiddler's Green, that's an asset of ours. So we actually work with AEG. They are a tenant. So we're not responsible for programming any of the music or anything there.
How long have you owned that for? Or
How many way?
how long has the entity MOA owned?
1986.
Very good. Thank you.
Anyone else before I go back to Member Martinez? No? Member Martinez?
I just have one last question. Do you have any anticipated, what's your anticipated restoration, conservation spend for next year? Probably, is it,
$125,000.
that's what it is per year?
No,
roughly?
but next year it's $125,000. Sometimes it's more and sometimes it's less. And this past year, as Tim explained, the Brooklyn Bridge was between $40,000 and $50,000 all by itself. So
Big undertaking.
it's costly to take care of public art.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a couple of questions. One is, first of all, how do we find your podcasts? Are they on your website you link into, or?
Yeah, the podcast I was referencing and this can be found. So we did develop a website entirely for Natura Obscura. So if you go to naturaobscura.org,
Okay.
click on blog, and all the podcasts are there. They're also on our Facebook page.
And then the second one is, especially with the Natura Obscura phenomena, or whatever we're going to call it, experience, it would seem like you would attract a lot of people here that have not been here before, which is your hope as well. Is there any way that, or have you been thinking about how to partner with restaurants or local entities here for having dinner before or afterwards? Is there something that the chamber could be involved with you, or our community development, to make sure there's some connections there?
Yeah, so we were working with Randy at the chamber on promoting it, and we're going to be discussing some ideas for like some coupon options with some local restaurants, and maybe like the Bob or something, for a brewery, or Inglewood Grand, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Because that would be a great opportunity for a lot of local establishments to get their name out there with people who don't know all the other little gems that are in our city here.
Right.
Around
We're
here.
doing a lot of cross promotion through social media, so that would
Okay.
probably be more likely where you see that kind of thing.
Okay. Great. And your request for a 3-year is because that's the end of our funding as well? Is that, you asked for 3 years rather than 5?
Well,
Yeah.
3 years was a suggested term by the past city manager.
Okay.
I think it's because it's when the debt is paid off to the Inglewood Foundation, and then the decision you'll make about the building will be eminent.
Right.
So for 3 years, till 2023, the building will stay as it is. And so I think that's why he suggested that we just ask for a 3-year extension.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. We are looking at all of our options there as well, earlier than later, so it's hot on our list on the top, actually. So I apologize. I do think that interim city manager, we may have told her we would do this tonight, but I don't think we don't have enough information to do any decision tonight at all anyway. So thank you for this presentation. I would say this is probably the most thorough presentation I have ever seen in the data. I can't wait to have you put this up on our document page so that all the citizens can look at it. The return with especially the education piece is really cool to see. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity to present. Have a nice Thanksgiving,
Thanks,
everybody.
You too. Next up is our board and commission process and reappointment discussion. Agenda 2, the interim city manager, Dorothy Hargrove, is here to present and discuss the board commission process and reappointment. And I want to first start out by saying, oh my goodness, thank you. We asked you to put some things together, and you did a great job. So.
Well, let me give credit where credit is due. Krista Gravy did all of this work, and I'm here taking credit for her hard work, so thank you.
Very gracious.
Thanks, Krista. give that one a try. Here we are. I would start by saying this is a recap of our understanding of the process, and so that everyone knows what the calendar is, what the next steps are. If there's anything, any direction from council, we certainly look for that feedback, but we're not making any recommendations about a change in the process, just clarifying where we are at this point, which is nowhere according to this. Go ahead. Hooray! Okay, a refresher. The city manager's office, aka Krista, keeps board and member information updated for city staff and city council and for the online public. There's an onboarding process for new members 2 times a year. We take careful note of all vacancies, handle all correspondence, and answer questions from applicants, and manage the interviews on behalf of City Council. That we have 3 different sources where people can find this information, including the website. Member requirements, I'll just read them here, and limitations of service are things that I know Council has discussed in the past. For all boards except for the Alliance for Commerce in Englewood, you're required to be a resident of the city. Members are expected to attend 60% of all meetings unless there's an excused absence in advance. If a member misses 3 consecutive meetings without an excused absence, a vacancy may be declared. Appointments, no more than 1 board at a time, with the exception of pension boards. Council may overrule in special cases, but under no circumstance may a citizen be appointed to more than 1 quasi-judicial board. The terms, opportunity to serve up to 3 consecutive terms per board. Further in our packet, there's real detailed calendar, and we'll get to that. This is just to remind you. Appointment dates, July 1st and February 1st. The reappointment for people who want to continue in their board service has to be received 75 days before the appointment. Vacancies, for new vacancies, posted 60 days, and the application for new appointments is 30 days before the appointment date. Under reappointments, again, there's more information in your packet. It should include attendance records and a letter of a recommendation from the chair for a reappointment. With the support of a council liaison, reapplicants may move forward without the need for an additional interview with City Council. Speaking of interviews, you've agreed to interview every applicant for a board vacancy. Interviews will be 10 minutes each. After the interviews, at the next study session, you will determine by consensus which appointments, and additional discussion and official appointment will happen at the regular following meeting. At that meeting, a resolution will be read for all considerations, new appointments and reappointments, as a single as a group resolution. And then all appointments will be recognized by City Council at the next regular council meeting. This is confusing even for those of us who've read it numerous times, so I'm glad you can keep track. We also have been trying to do a better job of new member onboarding process, and again, thanks to many people who've worked on this, including Krista and several of the liaisons. We have an informational packet for new members upon appointment. Each new member, and certainly the newly appointed chairs and staff liaisons, must watch a training provided by the City Attorney's Office that describes code of ethics, open records laws, procedures, Bob's Rules of Order, so that all of our boards and commissions are on the same page in terms of procedures, and that helps to ensure consistency and transparency for our community. You can watch this board and commission training on this wonderful YouTube. So anyone who is interested. Okay, so here is the timeline. I certainly won't read this, but it's in your packet if you're interested. The interviews are tentatively scheduled for January 3rd at your study session. And then, no, that's the interviews. And then the next study session is the discussion, and then you can decide when the appointments will be approved by City Council. The items below the line just shows you that just when you think it's over, it all starts again in April so that we can get this going for July. Sorry. In your packet, I guess it wasn't attached to the PowerPoint, and we can add that if you'd like for the minutes. There's a list of the reappointments, including those members who have decided not to ask for a reappointment. So when they have not turned in an application for a reappointment, that creates a vacancy. But you can see the ones who have applied and have met the attendance and have included a letter of recommendation for council consideration. On the last page of your packet, it shows what we know now about vacancies. I would remind you that because people's lives are variable, vacancies change, and we may have a different vacancy in the 1st of January, but as of today, this is where we are. So with that quick overview, and also given to you tonight, just so that everyone is on the same page, were the interview questions that have been agreed upon when you interview the candidates, which will happen again on January 3rd. So with that, I'd open it up to questions, comments.
Point of information, you just said that are the 3 that we got today included on this list as well?
The questions were not.
No. The three letters that we got where people had resigned, or are not interested. I see that. Pardon? Okay, because
those are, just for the public, those are included, is what she said. So
but I don't see this
don't
one.
See them.
The one name on there for Jay Rathburn. So that's why I was asking, because it didn't say what board.
So we have one that's resigning but isn't up for reappointment. So that means we have an opening on that board, though. Then, yeah.
Oh, I see. So you're making the distinction between the reappointments, and then we'll include these on positions that may end up being open. Thank you for the clarification. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Anyone? So, Council Mayor Pro Tem and I asked that we do this because we come flying into that January 3rd meeting without having a conversation. We start right at 6. We start interviewing, and we're like, And I said, could we talk about this beforehand? And so this is a time to do that. And one of the reasons why the questions are here too is just so that you can look at them and decide: are these the questions we like? Do you want to change any? We try and ask similar questions every time, so everyone's treated fairly. Of course, it's 10 minutes. So open up for questions, comments. Councilmember Wink.
Thanks, Mayor. I always hate to open my mouth if I don't have a solution. I'm going to do it. Please excuse me. So my comment here is that, we don't have very much time. These questions, I think, work relatively well. One thing I've noticed in the short time I've been here is that the candidates tend to address all of these, you know what I mean, by the time they get done with question 1 or 2. If they give any bit of a thorough answer, they've already touched on this, and so they're just sort of repeating themselves and repeating themselves and repeating themselves. So I do think there's an opportunity to maybe approach them in a little bit way that gets at different pieces of information out of the candidates. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
And I just had a clarification, and it may have already been answered. So this, the board and commission vacancies include all of the resignations that were in there, plus the ones that didn't reapply, plus the current openings on the boards.
Would you like to come up?
We can't.
Yeah, let's have you come up. Maybe you can.
Yeah,
Plus, we're going to have to take credit for all this work you did, so.
This one needs to be turned on.
On the bottom.
It's on the bottom. There you go.
Okay. The vacancies list also assumes that you will be reappointing everybody on the reappointment list. But based on this discussion tonight, if there's anybody that you question or waiver on, then we will consider that a vacancy.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Helpful.
Thank
Might
you.
want to stay there.
Thank you, Crystal.
So the first one was interview question. Okay, Councilmember Martinez, and then Mr.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm totally open to adding additional questions because I think, like Councilmember Wing said, a lot of times they answer those questions right away, or if they provide a thorough explanation in their application, it addresses some of those as well. And some people provide very little, so then it gives us the kind of need to ask those questions. And then secondly, on the reappointments, I'm in favor of reappointing everyone who on the groups that I'm a liaison to, which are Keep Englewood Beautiful and Transportation Advisory. I don't think they need to go through another interview from my perspective. And one additional thing, I got a one-page kind of information sheet from Keep Englewood Beautiful that they would like to share with anyone coming on. So they asked what the best way to share that is if it would be a page on the website or when their applicants are interviewing with us or what. It's just kind of like here's the time commitment for our group, here's what we kind of expect, kind of an additional onboarding piece. So just wanted to throw that out there too, that they asked that they would like to share that with anyone.
That's an excellent point, and perhaps all the commissions would like the opportunity to do that with a little bit of a one-pager. That's great. I'll write that down. Councilmember Barentine?
I just wanted to share with you, since she acknowledged that you did it. Before the meeting started, I complimented the interim city manager for the job that was done on this, and I appreciate that she publicly gave you credit for that. So I wanted to let you know that it's well done and shows that you've gone through this a few times. But thank you very much. It's nice to have all of this, and thank you as well.
Thank you. Anything else, Member Barentine? So it sounds to me like the major questions or issues are what the interview questions, to provide a few others beyond this, so that if we get through all these, I might even propose that the next time around in June that maybe we ask some of these as part of the application, so we make it to another stage. But we can talk about that another time. And then the vacancy list is assuming the reappointment of all. And we've had one already say that she'd like to. Councilmember Martinez says, go ahead, reappoint. How do others feel about that? Do you want to take the appointments as noted here? The reappointments, I mean. Councilmember Wink?
I'm completely comfortable doing that at the recommendation of the council liaison.
Great, thank you. How about you, Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm fine with that. There are none of the boards that I'm liaison to that have any openings. So.
Member Cuesta?
Yes, agreed. The one board, or no, the two that I'm on, only one has a recommendation. Mr. Scott Gilbert, and I would certainly support his reappointment.
Great. Thank you, Member Barentine.
I'd like to follow the schedule, and I will go ahead and submit when I have it in there. The only other question I have is about doing the consensus piece. I don't want us to, on the schedule that you did, I don't want it to look as if we're pushing this council into making a decision that night, but I think we can work within the parameters of what you wrote.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Sierra, just looking for consensus to move these forward. We can also vote not to accepting one on the night of.
So no, I'm comfortable moving forward. Same as Mayor Pro Tem, I'm not a liaison to any of the people here, so on the boards that are open. So I'm fine taking the recommendation of the current liaison.
Great, that would be wonderful then. So it sounds like, does the schedule look correct to you all? Is there anything you want to change on the timeline? I have one thing on it that I think Mayor Pro Tem and I talked about, and that is seeing if we would have another date for a second meeting in the week of the 3rd, right? Is it the week of the 3rd? Because if we have a lot of interviews, we won't get them all done in one night. So could you? Would it be best if you just sent possible evenings that week that you could do it? I think we knew that Tuesday and Thursday?
Yes, no. Is this the same week that we're going to be
interviewing
firms?
Candidates for the firms for the RFPs. So why don't we do this? Let's send out a doodle or some kind of so be looking for that in the next 2 days to give us your availability, and just note that that week we most likely will be needing some extra evenings if there's a lot of applications, and then also for the RFP for the city manager search firm that we're looking for, we're going to begin interviewing as well. All right, does that make sense? Is that following through with what we said we were going to do? Okay, thank you. And then the last thing is the one-pager on KEB. Could you see a way to put that up in any way at this point, since they do have one?
Mm-hmm. We could. I'm sure we could put a link up on the website on a KEB page, or even within the application page, which links right to Granicus, where people apply to. We have a little blurb about each board on that page, and so we can see if maybe we could fit a link in there if you have an extra piece you want everyone to see. So.
Great. I'll forward it too.
Thank you. And then the last thing would be adding questions. So why don't you look these over, and if you see a question that you would like to have a little bit more permanent as a follow-up, and send them to Interim City Manager Hargrove, we could send them out, all of them together, and before the thirds, at least everybody's aware, and we can pick them that night or at another study session. So this gives us time to do that. I don't think we've ever talked about it this early, which is so nice. All right. Oh, Councilmember Question.
You bet. Thank you, Mayor. You mentioned the addition of questions. I assume subtraction is on the table as well. There's a couple that I think.
Oh, yes. If you think there's something on here you don't like being asked, we certainly can consider that. There's time for that. Great. This meeting is then adjourned. We'll meet in next door in hopefully 5 minutes, as soon as we can all get a little break.
Already? What do you mean already?